Hi folks, this video is designed to help you write an essay for Leaving Cert Higher Level Geography for Regional Geography section, and the topic is the distribution of population in an Irish peripheral region. So you will need 15 SRPs, okay, and you will begin your essay always by stating what region you're studying. So begin by saying the region I have studied is the North and West. You can state that it has 8 counties and a population of 1.1 million people. I wouldn't at this stage list out the counties, but I would make sure that you know each of those counties so that you can refer to them within the essay, and you can weave them in through the information in your essay. So I would start off by thinking about the physical factors that would affect where population pockets are and where the population have not settled within the region. So thinking about soil, relief and drainage. So let's begin with relief. So relief is a physical factor that influences where people settle. And the North and West region is quite a mountainous region. You can refer to it then as a region of Caledonian fold mountains. So those fold mountains were began being made 500 million years ago. That was the period of orogeny, of mountain building. So you would then back up that statement with some named examples. So you can mention the Blue Stacks or the Derryveigh Mountains in Donegal, mention the Ox Mountains, the 12 Pins, the Mamturks, the Muilras, whatever you can think of, you back up that statement with a named example of a mountain range. Okay. Then you explain why relief can deter settlement. So you can say the high altitude is colder and windier, and you can say that the steep gradient or slope is difficult and more expensive to build on. You can mention that steep relief as well, it basically deters people from building transport infrastructure there as well. So lack of transport infrastructure will result in a lack of settlement. Now, however, there are some pockets of scattered, I suppose, or your rural settlement patterns, linear cluster dispersed. So you would find some dispersed settlement patterns along the slopes as well. But refer to the aspect of the slope in your essay. So in Ireland, the south-facing slopes will be more populated than the north-facing slopes. This is because the south-facing slopes get more sunshine. The north-facing slopes are colder and more damp. And in the North and West region, we tend to use the north-facing slopes for coniferous plantations. Okay, those coniferous plantations, they can grow in the shallow soil on the slopes, and they can cope with the acidic podzolic soils there too. So because of that, we have less settlement on the cold, damp north-facing slopes of those mountain ranges. Drainage then. So the North and West region has many, many rivers and lakes. Rivers are good drainage, they're moving water, and lakes are poor drainage, so they're standing water, and so are bogs and marshland. So you can refer to, first of all, the fact that many pockets of settlement have developed around rivers, and especially at the crossing points or bridging points of rivers. You can give examples then of Ballina on the River Moy or Galway City on the River Corrib. Rivers always influenced or attracted settlement in the past, historically, because fresh water was needed for transport, washing, cooking, cleaning and so on. So way back to our first settlers, you'll find that settlement began around the narrow bridging points of rivers, and today those settlements are still there and they have just expanded over time and become more urbanised. In relation to lakes and bogs and marshland and poorly drained land, this does repel settlement. So counties like Cavan and Leitrim have many lakes in them, and you can refer to the fact that Leitrim has the lowest population density out of all the 26 counties, and the statistic you can use there is that there are 18 people per square kilometre in Leitrim. So many of those lakes then, you will have pockets of settlement around the lakes. So, guest houses and B&Bs and things like that. The scenic beauty is stunning there. So you will have settlement. It's just you don't tend to have large urban centres right beside those lakes in Cavan and Leitrim. Okay, the next one will be soil then. So soil quality historically always either attracted or repelled settlement. So if you have good quality brown earth or alluvial soils, good boulder clay, that has always attracted farmers since our first farmers, the Neolithic period. Okay, nowadays farmland is less than it used to be, I suppose. For instance, County Galway would have been a lot more farmland there in the past. There was still farmland there, pastures and arable farmland, but now the city there is sprawling outwards. 80,000 people in Galway City, so it's sprawling outwards, and they're losing a bit of that farmland there. However, the people were there in the first place because of the fertile alluvial and brown earth soil. It was good for farming, and it created a marketplace then to trade those farming goods. Okay, you can also mention the floodplains then. Floodplains of rivers can attract settlement because they're fertile alluvium, but they can also repel settlement because they are prone to flooding. And as you know, the River Shannon is prone to flooding in winter time when there are periods of heavy rain, and that can lead to problems and can push people out of the area as well. Okay, then there are your physical factors that can attract or repel settlement in the north and west. Let's go on to the human factors now, okay? And you can mention that there are urban areas, mention a few urban areas like Galway City, Letterkenny in Donegal, Sligo Town, and those places attract settlement. They attract settlement for lots of reasons, but a big reason would be the availability of work. And in urban centres, there tends to be more high-paid, skilled jobs, and mainly in the tertiary sector as well. Okay, so even though the north and west region is a peripheral region and has a lot of activities in the primary and secondary economic sector, there are jobs in the tertiary sector, mainly in those urban centres that I just named. You can give some examples, then always back up with examples like Merit Medical in Galway and Boston Scientific. Okay. Cities and towns, well, there's only one city in the north and west, that's Galway, but there are lots of large urban centres as well, and Galway City in particular would offer high standards of medical care, and they would have the University Hospital and Bon Secours Hospital there. It would also offer colleges and universities like UCG and GMIT. Sligo has an IT as well. And that will attract school leavers from all over to study particular courses in those universities and colleges. However, only about 13% of the people who study in those colleges find work in the local area when they qualify, when they graduate. Okay, so that means the other 87%, they have to migrate. So they tend to go either abroad or to other large cities in Ireland or large towns to get work. Population of Galway is 80,000, as I said, and the density there, the population density is 41 people per metre squared. So this is quite low in comparison to the national average of 66 people per metre squared. So I would learn those statistics off and put those into your essay, please. Rural deprivation. So there are signs of rural deprivation in many parts of the north and west. Signs like low educational levels, unprofitable farms, high dependency ratios, high elderly dependency ratios in particular. That means that there are a large proportion of older people who are retired, not working, not paying taxes, who are dependent on the younger people who are working and paying taxes and paying tax revenue to the government. So it's not a good thing to have a high dependency ratio. The best scenario is to have a low elderly dependency ratio where you have a lot more young people who are working and paying taxes, and there are less older people dependent on them. Those regions as well where the graduates leave the colleges, I meant to say, would you put in there that those regions tend to suffer from brain drain, okay? The Irish government have tried numerous different plans and policies to try and encourage people to stay in the north and west and to try and encourage people to move to the north and west. So one of the things they did was they had a decentralisation scheme for government departments, and that started around 2003. It was only partly successful though. They did move some government departments, like the Department of Social Protection went up to Letterkenny. They were trying to move these departments away from Dublin and away from the greater Dublin area to try and spread them out across the country. So some of the departments moved. They offered incentives for their staff, the civil servants, to move there as well to the north and west. And like I said, some people moved, but it was only semi-successful. They cancelled the whole plan then in 2011. Another thing is that Údarás na Gaeltachta would offer grants for people who are living in Feor Gaeltachtaí, so the true Gaeltacht regions where they are speaking Irish at home and in work every day. And that is an incentive then for those people to stay there and not move away from the area because they received that grant. Okay, so there's some of the human factors that affect the spread of population and how many people live in the north and west and where they choose to live within the north and west counties, those 8 counties there. Refer to counties like Roscommon if you can, Mayo. I didn't mention them very often in the answer, and Monaghan as well. Actually, when it comes to Monaghan, you could mention the soil quality in parts of Monaghan is pretty poor, and it's not great for arable farming. Now they do have plenty of mushroom farms, poultry farms there and things like that, and they need workers on those farms, so there are small areas of settlement there, but in general Monaghan would have a fairly small population density compared to other counties. Okay, so I hope that's enough information for you, and get cracking on writing those essays. You need 15 good SRPs, some nice statistics in there, plenty of examples. Refer to as many of the 8 counties in the north and west as you can, and best of luck.